in this time to thrive, what we really need to do isn't so much something to do, it's a way to be. This kind of even surprises me because I was always a doer. I was like, let's have 4 kids as quick as we can. We need a podcast for the foundation. I had never run a podcast before. There's a place for that. But more importantly, there's a place to be.
Hey, Holistic Hilda here. I bring you experts, experiences, and epic adventures to boost your health. On May 22nd, I had an event called How to Thrive and Not Just Survive on Joel Salatin's farm. And I gave a talk about some of my most basic and simple tips to do just that. You guys, it feels like the world has gone crazy, I know. But there are things we can do like unplugging from our devices and moving and exploring and grounding that literally will keep us calm in the eye of the storm. So check out this talk that I gave and let me know what you think.
So I wanted to tell you how this event came to be really quickly. So as you can tell, I'm an enthusiastic person. And we got together here in November because the Wise Traditions Conference for the Weston Price Foundation was canceled. And I was like, oh, no, it's not. Oh, no, it can't be. It can't be. We have to get together because I think we need each other more than ever. As a matter of fact, I will pause here to say, if we didn't have any speakers this day, I think we would still come away blessed and refreshed, Because, right? Yes. Absolutely. This environment, coming away to just be and breathe and connect and to kind of remind ourselves of who we are is just invaluable. But I was like, okay, we have to do this get-together thing somehow, some way, Sally. So I contacted Joel, and I contacted Del Bigtree, who's a wonderful friend of mine, a force of nature in and of himself. He's amazing. And a few other friends, and I was like, I think we can do this. So in 3 weeks, we pulled together like a flash one-day conference last November, and it was just amazing, just like this. A chance to connect, to be together, to be encouraged by some important words and thoughts, and it was just fabulous. So afterwards, I was like, Joel, let's do it again. Let's do it again. And the foundation was like, we'll do it again like next November. I was like, I can't wait. And I know I represent a lot of people. I was like, we have to do this. So I said to Joel, how about March? He's like, too cold. April, too cold. So we landed on May. And he said, I could kick off. They're doing a whole series here at Polyface. Every month they're having some kind of like rogue food conference and special events. And they're just committed to getting people together in this smaller kind of informal style. But I love this much better than a hotel with the chandeliers and the Wi-Fi, right? Like all that stuff. I'm like, no, I don't want that. I want to be in a place that reminds me of my place in this world. And I know it does the same for you. And so as I was mentioning Wi-Fi, I want to hasten to tell you, Sally Fallon Morell says there's a new etiquette, and it is actually putting your cell phone on airplane mode. So if you've got your phone, that's great, but please do that. You wouldn't believe the difference it makes in terms of allowing our bodies to rest. We're kind of just like little, popcorn in the microwave. We're kind of electrifying ourselves in ways that aren't healthy by our own devices. So please put it in airplane mode. Feel free to take pictures. Please post them all over the place. Hashtag, Holistic Hilda, or tag me, whatever you want to do. Tag Polyface, of course. But give yourself a little break from that because it's really important. And I will get to that more in a moment. First, I want to tell you a little bit of my philosophy is this, that in this time to thrive, what we really need to do isn't so much something to do, it's a way to be. And this kind of even surprises me because I was always a doer. I was like, let's have 4 kids as quick as we can. We had 4 kids in 5 years, and I was like ambitious. I was like, we need a podcast for the foundation. I had never run a podcast before. I, had to buy a book and learn on the fly. I was just like, let's do this. There's a place for that. But more importantly, there's a place to be, And I think who we are matters much more than what we do. Each and every person in this room, there's a reason that you're here. And don't buy the lie that the influencers are the people with over 100,000 followers. Oh, no. I mean, they have their place, but each of us is influencing every person around us and what is happening in this world. So I just want to encourage you to take this day, take this moment to be and to breathe. It's really, really important. It's really, really life-changing. Because if you're always on the go, you have less to give than if you're still. You have to have, as Joel was just telling us on that farm tour, the time of disturbance or movement and then the time of rest. Both of those are important. For years, I was an exercise professional. I love it still. I love moving, but you've got to have those rest days or you're going to wear yourself out. So I hope this day is as refreshing for you as I know it's going to be for me. Also, I wanted to tell you a little story. Have you heard of Odysseus, the mythical creature, not creature, but person in Homer's book, The Odyssey? So he was doing all his journey. This is why some people call journeys Odysseys, because it was named after this book. Anyway, I digress. So Odysseus had to go by this place where there were these sirens, and they had very tempting, enchanting, intriguing songs. And he knew he had to resist it because when sailors heard the sirens, they were drawn to go near them, and then their boats would inevitably crash and capsize, and they would, die. And so you had to resist the siren song. So what did he do? First of all, he was curious. So he couldn't plug up his ears, but he said, "You guys," he told his crew, "lash me to the mast so I can resist the siren's call. I want to hear it, but don't listen to me no matter how much I beg. We have to stay on course." So they did that. And then, I don't know who did this, but they had to lash their hands to the oars so that they wouldn't be tempted either. And they plugged up their ears with beeswax, not beeswax. I don't even know if that's a thing. So they plugged up their ears with beeswax, their hands were lashed to the oars, and they made it past the alluring siren song. And they were so proud of themselves afterwards. We made it past, we succeeded on our Odyssey. But there is a character named Orpheus who is lesser known. And check this out. He had to go by the siren song too. Completely different approach. He grabbed his little magic lyre and played this instrument at the front of the boat, and neither he nor the crew were distracted by the siren song because they were led by a sweeter song. They were led by the music that he was playing. And you guys, this is how I want to live. I want to lead by a sweeter song. And I think each of you has that sweeter song, but we need to stop to tune into what it is. Because I don't want to spend my days fighting, the powers that be and railing against certain people who I do not even want to honor by naming, who we think, they're taking us in the wrong direction. You might be thinking that in terms of politics. You might be thinking that in terms of economy. You can fight against them as much as you want if that's your calling. But my calling is to follow the sweeter song, to lead by my life of the best way to live. Because I don't think we can convince anybody with any argument or even facts about how they should do what they want to do. I don't want people trying to dissuade me from what I want to do, right? So I think our whole approach to this time, we might want to consider, instead of fighting so much, going by that sweeter song. And if you think about it, if you were on the farm tour, that's exactly what Joel Salatin is doing here at Polyface. He is working in a collaborative way with nature, right? He's doing the beautiful things. He's not telling his neighbor farmers who think he's crazy, "You got to be doing it my way. Look at my crops here." Well, he doesn't have crops, but, "Look at my cattle. Look at my pigs. We're thriving over here. We got a great business." That would get him nowhere. It would sound like braggadocio. Instead, he is leading by example. And those who are curious, and he told me the story today of a neighbor who pulled up in the truck and said, "I know what they're saying about you. I think you're clever. Help me out on my farm." And so see what that took? He didn't say a word, but this man came and sought him. And so I think the more we are who we are completely meant to be, the more if we embrace our own essence, like Joel says, the pigness of pigs, and embrace the Christine of Christineness and the Sophie of Sophiness, embrace who you are, take time to be and develop that, and you will find your sweeter song. And I'm going to give you just a few little hacks on how to go about this. And we're going to actually do a couple too. So let's start right now by breathing. And that is one of the essence of people who are alive. We're alive and breathing. We're above ground. So this is a tool that I use that I've learned from my friends who I've interviewed on the podcast, including James Nestor, who's the author of Breathe, The New Science of a Lost Art, my friend from Wellness Force Media, and different folks who've talked about the power of breath, right? And so what we do is you can just breathe. Generally, it's something we don't need to think about, really. It just kind of happens automatically, thank goodness. But if you breathe intentionally, it can change you from that fight or flight mode, and we all get in it, I know. It could have been even this weekend trying to get ready to get here. Oh my gosh, I have to get up so early, and I still have to pack the lunch. By the way, I forgot my lunch. If anybody wants to share, let me know. But anyway, so you're feeling kind of busy and frantic. There's a lot of things that can make that happen. It can happen from noise outside of us and noise inside of us. So you get into this heightened state with the cortisol flowing, and you're in your sympathetic nervous system situation. What you want to do is get back into parasympathetic, where you're in that rest and digest. You're going to relax, and by breathing a specific way, you kind of let your body know, okay, it's time for that. We can relax. So let's do this. It's just box breathing. It's really simple. It's my favorite one because it's easy to keep track of. So we're just going to close our eyes, and we're going to just do this with me. Breathe in for 5 counts. Hold for 5 counts. Exhale for 5 counts. And hold for 5 counts. We're going to do 3 rounds of this. Breathe in through the nose for 5. Hold for 5. Exhale for 5. And hold for 5. And one more round. Breathe in through the nose. Hold for 5. Exhale for 5. And hold for 5. Hey, doesn't that feel good? And we can do that anytime. When we get stressed, we end up breathing really shallowly. And so that's a way to kind of get back connected into breathing. You're letting your body know everything's going to be all right. Another thing that's good about this is it helps us come to our senses. Were you more aware of what was happening around you in that little moment? Were you more aware of where you were? Well, that's what I want to invite us to do during this day today as well, is to come to our senses. I think this really helps us be, and it equips us for what is to come. So again, let's just take a moment and notice what's around us. Like, okay, one of the senses. Call one out. Call out a sense. Uh-oh, there were different ones. Okay. Let's start with sight. So just look around for a second. Okay, there's some things to see, some beautiful faces and smiles. The little pond over there. All right, then somebody said smell. What do you smell? Hey, the predominant, absolutely. What else is there? Touch. What do you touch? The hay. The hay's coming up a lot, I noticed. You can touch your neighbor. It's okay. And someone you came with. What else is there? Hearing. What do you hear? Birds. Yeah, beautiful. I sometimes can get kind of trippy, sorry. And what's another sense? Taste. Taste the experience. Taste the experience. I feel like, I got to be honest with you, in my life with my 4 kids and so much going on in my life, I was always like a doer, do. That. I mean, that's great. There's a moment for that, like I said. I feel like I missed some of the things that were right in front of me. I was like a person on a bus traveling to a destination that has the window shades pulled down, and I'm like maybe texting about something I haven't even seen. I'm missing what's right there because the shades are down. So when I invite you to come to your senses, I invite you to open your eyes to what's around you, because when you're in the moment, you experience a lot less anxiety and regret. You're not in yesterday where there might have been things you were sorry about. You're not in tomorrow where there are anxieties of things that are to come a lot of times, right? Let's be in the moment, as a friend of mine says, between the tick and the tock. Let's really be present. And that will make even this day, even this moment, exponentially better. You will be in a whole different mindset. I have so many friends that are stressed out right now, and they're in the health and wellness space, but they're like, Hilda, have you seen the latest video? Did you see what this person put out? And I'm like, no, actually, I haven't, because I know enough about what's happening. I'm informed. I'm not uninformed, but I don't want to live in that space of anxiety, because that's not going to help anybody, right? So I'm going to tell you just a couple of hacks that I do to come to my senses. One is plunging in ice holes. I don't recommend this for everyone, but I found out recently why I love it so much. This is so interesting. Number one, you can't be thinking about anything else but about how freezing cold that water is when you're in there. So it's a little bit like a slap in the face, but a little bit better than that. So I do like that aspect of it. It also trains you and helps you build resilience for what is to come, because when bad things happen, and they do because life has its ups and downs, right? You can handle it better. I feel like I can navigate the challenges because I have the mindset, it's all going to be all right. I'm going to be all right. I'm going to get through this. This is just for a time. These little things help me. But also, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm going to let you in on a secret because I feel like we're family here, and this is so fun. Plus, I can't help but talk a lot. Yeah, Joel knows. I'm a little chatterbox. But anyway, so this is what happened. I had open heart surgery when I was 9 years old because I was born with a birth defect. Oh my gosh, it's such a long story, and I have so many things I want to tell you, but I want to honor your time, so we'll see how much I can squeeze in. Let me just say this. My mom got exposed to the German measles when she was carrying me, and so the doctors are like, your baby's going to be born with a serious birth defect. You know, she's going to be blind or unable to speak or hear. And they didn't notice anything at first, but as they monitored my heart, they noticed after a while that I had a heart murmur. It was a hole between the lower two ventricles. And they said, if we don't perform surgery, this child is not going to live past like age 21 or something. So they monitored me. And I kind of was cautious as a kid because I knew, I mean, they didn't know, was the hole going to get any bigger? You know, so when I go to like Knott's Berry Farm and it said, if you have a heart condition, don't get on the ride. I'm like, maybe that's me. You know, I didn't know. I was scared and stuff. But then when I was 9 years old, they did open heart surgery. And that was scary too, but that's a whole other story. But I woke up and I had this huge scar on my chest. And then they also told me, though, you can do anything you want. You can do anything you want. And I was like, oh my gosh, what do I want to do? So many options. The first was I wanted to take care of my body. I was like, I want this thing to last as long as possible. So I decided I was never going to smoke. I was never going to drink. And I also was grateful to God. So I was like, okay, I'm on your path, God. You protected me even in the womb. And I've been marked, you know, with this cross. I'm definitely going to follow you. And so all this has been good for me. And it kind of gave me a sense of purpose because I realized I can't just keep this for myself. I want to help everybody live their best life, you know, at any age and stage. We're good friends, but I'm not going to tell you exactly how old I am just yet. But I am going to have a big reveal one day. My daughter's like, Mom, why do you have to do a big reveal? Well, I just feel like it's a funny thing. People look at you, you know, and they're like, in ancient cultures, they revered people who were older, but not in our culture, right? So I'm trying to be savvy about it too. Maybe I'll tell you if you ask me privately. But the point I want to make is I've lived a really long time, and I'm really grateful that you all are here because I think you are here for a reason. And we're all going to come to our senses, and we are all going to be family, and we're all going to be present. So I want to take just a moment here and pause and have you turn and meet someone near you that haven't met yet, and just take a minute so we can really be connected in that way. Go for it. Meet each other. Introduce yourselves. I'm so glad you're connecting. Okay. So, I did not tell you number one, why cold therapy is good for you, which I will tell you, or what I realized the reason this Latina likes getting in the cold. So I'll tell you both things. First of all, cold thermogenesis, one reason it's good, as I mentioned, is mindset. It also lowers inflammation. This is why athletes get in ice baths after a performance, right? It helps the recovery time. It actually helps you build more brown fat. All winter long, I would go outside, and my family can testify to this, and most of them are here today, as I said. I was wearing a shorts and a tank top all winter long, and I would go outside, again with a positive mindset, like, this is amazing, this is exhilarating. My neighbors thought I was crazy. But I was getting the benefits of shivering. You know, really, when you are cold, when you experience the ambient temperature, it helps your body work a little bit. Some people say we're so sick because we don't let our bodies work enough. We acclimatize our cars, we acclimatize our offices and our homes. Everything's set at 72 degrees, be it winter or summer, right? So our bodies don't have to do anything. So we need to get outside and we need to acclimatize. So those are a few of the benefits of cold thermogenesis. I think I also mention it on the free PDF on my website, holistichilda.com. So you can look into that there. But the secret I was going to tell you is this. So my sister pointed out to me some article from the 1960s when I was born. That gives you a hint of my age. Anyway, of a little boy who had open heart surgery. And it was just a little bit before mine or a little bit after. And what the doctors had to do was they had to chill his body so that they could get everything kind of frozen for a second so they could work on the heart. And even the heart had to be still as they were stitching it up or whatever. This is exactly what they did to me. And I thought, I am doing cold therapy in part because I realize it's both traumatic in some ways, but also healing. Like when they did that to me, and might need a little tape on this later. Maybe tell an intern, Revy. So when they did that to me, so whenever I get in the water, maybe I'm kind of recreating something that was good for me. Do you know what I mean? So who knows? Who knows? I can't really say. But I also find it challenging and fun. And people think you're like a superhero. They're like, what? You can do that? I'm like, yeah, I can do that. It's so easy. It's like a little party trick. It's like pulling a tablecloth off a table with the stuff on it. Yeah, it's like, wow, look what she can do. So anyway, it's very fun. But now I'm going to tell you four things that you can do to come to your senses. I mean, I already told you breathing, so that's a bonus one. The next one I'm going to talk about is grounding. Because when you come to your senses and when you ground, it actually helps you remove a positive charge that you've accumulated from all the radiation and all the stuff that we're exposed to. You guys, it's not just Wi-Fi. It's not just 5G. It's actually the electricity in our homes. It's everywhere we go that we're kind of being fried. I had a geobiologist, Brian Hoyer, come to my house and do like all the measurements, and he was like, not good. I was like, oh, he's like, these numbers are high. He's like, when you're in bed, like that is so high. And he's like, because by the way, I live in DC in a row house. So the neighbors like cordless phone stuff is coming my way and all these things. And I was like, oh my gosh, we haven't moved yet, but I've built my resilience. So I'm hanging in there. Part of it is mindset and spirit, and we'll get to that too. But one thing I do is I ground. What does that mean? It's literally what some of my friends are doing here. It's actually putting your feet or touching a tree, whatever you can do to release the positive charge that your body has accumulated throughout the day and kind of get what the earth has to give you. It's like eating blueberries. You're getting antioxidants from the earth whenever you touch it. So in the winter, when I'm in my tank top, I'll lean against a tree because I don't want to take my shoes off because I don't want to get frostbite, So that's one thing I'll do. In the summer, I either go barefoot when I can, and even in the city, which sounds crazy, but I do that, or I'll wear like earth runner shoes that have a little tab on the bottom part that connects to the earth so you can get that charge into your body. It's so amazing. But the main thing is the earth is actually, just to tell you a little bit of science, struck by lightning like 5,000 times in 1 second. Did you know that? 5,000 times in 1 second. So it builds up this charge that it gives you. But it is a negative charge that kind of couples with the positive charge that you have. And that's why it's so helpful. Anyway, that's just a little bit of information. The earth has magnetic and electric fields and Schumann resonance that we need. So there might be a reason that you feel so good when you go camping. That you feel so good when you come to the farm. It's not just all this wonderfulness. It's that you're getting away from all that other stuff that's kind of keeping you anxious and electrified. I interviewed Arthur Furstenberg on the Wise Traditions podcast. He's the author of The Invisible Rainbow, and he said that the whole diagnosis of anxiety didn't come about until electricity started to crisscross all over Europe. Isn't that interesting? So people never said they were anxious. Maybe they weren't even anxious until this came into their lives. So it's something to think about. But look to off-charge, that positive charge you've accumulated, and to upload, if you will, from the earth, these wonderful natural antioxidants for better health. And I think I wanted to tell you one other thing about that, just that we're insulated. We're insulated from this a lot with our shoes, with our houses, with our cars. So look for ways to get back there. Also, notice that when astronauts go into space, they get less healthy. It's not just that they're missing gravity, although I'm sure that's part of it. They're missing what the Earth has to offer them, that natural magnetic and electric resonance and the Schumann resonance as well. It lowers inflammation. Grounding does, by the way. It also boosts your energy. It lowers stress. And again, is a download of that positive charge that you have. So you can do it getting on the grass, in a body of water, natural body of water, not like a pool. And even concrete and cement, you can ground through that. But you can't through asphalt or what's, on the most playgrounds or parking lots. So, all right, I'm going to get through a couple more quickly. The other one, which I've kind of hinted at already, is unplug. So the first one is ground. The second one is unplug. Even if you're still like me in the city, you can unplug from kind of the noise and the things. I don't mean literally, though you can, but unplug from all the chatter that brings you down. And that way you're more free to plug into the things that lift you up. I think this really matters because when we are fearful, when we are discouraged, it literally hinders our immune system function. And Bruce Lipton, who I also interviewed on the podcast, said this. I said, what's the one thing we can do to improve our health? And he said, turn off your TV. He said, turn off your TV. And I was like, wow, that's really powerful. Because we think we're just being entertained. Yes, I guess, and there's a time for that if you want to laugh or just, take your mind off something. But unfortunately, this has become like a 24/7 thing. We're, instead of enjoying life, we're watching it all the time on our devices. I mean, I see nothing sadder than children tugging on their parents who are like, just a second. What they're missing that now that I was talking about, right? We have to unplug to plug into real life. And actually, when my children were little, I was like, we're not going to watch TV. I think I would give them 1/2 hour a week for Arthur. Do you remember that little cartoon, Hey, DW. I don't know what the thing was. But he was like, it was a beautiful day. But it's like, it's a beautiful day outside. Let's get outside. We don't need to be watching Arthur. I mean, 1/2 hour is okay. But the main thing is we are also unintentionally and unwittingly being programmed by our programs. So you had to be careful. There's a reason they call it television. And there is programming and channels. And I don't want to say too much about that because I don't like to focus on that stuff, but I do know this. We take away that power literally when we unplug from it. And yes, I have a phone. I like a phone. I like to stay connected to people, but it has its place. I own the phone. It doesn't own me, right? So we really need to keep that in mind to thrive. And that's what this day is about. And coming to our senses is an important part of that. So again, we're going to ground. We're going to unplug. The third thing is to move, which we've already done just even getting here today. But Joel was talking how important that is for the succulent meat of the pork, Well, we want to be succulent too in our own way, don't we? Does that sound weird? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But life is sensual. Life is sensual, you guys. That's why I'm saying come to our senses because it's beautiful. Like God didn't make food just to be utilitarian to feed us. He made it in such a way that we would enjoy it. The same thing with procreation. I'm not using another word, but for that kind of intimacy is like, it could just be functional, but it's not, right? It's not. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so in every way, we need to come to our senses and become as succulent as possible. Okay, I'm not going to use that word again. Wait, isn't it a plant too, though? Okay. It's kind of a plant that you can have even if you don't have a green thumb. I have a couple of those, the green thumbs and the plants. But anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to move. So right now we're going to stand up for just a second, and we're going to do a little stretching. And maybe even, okay, so someone asked me already on this time together, they said, are there movements that you recommend to do every day? I do have a little routine, but we don't have enough space to do all of them. But let's do this first one. Oh my gosh, this is going to be fun. And I know it's a risk because it's early in the morning and they say kind of the crowd isn't warmed up till later. So go with me, okay? Go with me. Prove them wrong. The first thing we're going to do is we're just going to get our lymphatic system flowing. This is something I do in the mornings. If I don't do jumping jacks, I just do this. My Maasai friends taught it to me. Do a little heel bounce. Yes. Doesn't that feel good? Okay, that's good. That's good. All right, now let's just do just a little stretch. Lace your fingers. Just follow me. You can lean back, but be careful. Watch your neighbor. That feels so good. All right, you can grab a seat. But really, we weren't meant to sit that long as we do. You know, whether it's in our cars or at work or I just that position is, whoa, it's just something. When I went to Kenya and I was with some Maasai friends, a friend of mine had gone 15 years before me, and she introduced me to this Maasai warrior. It was amazing. It was a fantastic thing. And I would go by some Maasai villages, and I saw a lot of the tribesmen and elders sitting in chairs. And she said, my friend said, Hilda, when I went 15 years ago, they were just all squatting. Like, that's what they did. You know, they'd hang out. I'm wearing a dress right now, so I'm not going to do that. But they would just hang out squatting all the time. And that's more limber. That's more functional. It's better for, you know, how everyone has hip pain and knee pain and all kinds of stuff. It's partially because we're always sitting at that angle. So movement is critical. I just did a podcast with Katie Bowman, who wrote Move Your DNA. And she said movement is a nutrient. Just as much as your body needs to be fed, it needs to move. Those cells are like, help us, help us. When you hear pain, it's not saying don't move, it's saying please move. You might need to find the way that works for you, right? If you're like, it really hurts, I can't do X, well, then do Y. Ben Greenfield, I've had on the podcast before. He's probably the most buff person I know. And he recently, I don't know if he was cutting some meat or something, probably doing something very primal, but he cut himself. And he's like, okay, I can't work with his hand, but I can still do this, maybe the bouncing or whatever. You know, he's going to keep moving because that's what we were designed to do. So we're going to ground, we're going to unplug, we're going to move. And the fourth thing I wanted to share with you as I start to close up is this. I want to invite you, when you come to your senses, to explore beyond the five, which you remember what they were: taste, smell, sweet, whatever, all that stuff. Okay, there's more than that. There's more than that. And this is how I know. It's kind of a deep knowing. When you walk in a room and the people have just had a fight, you know how you can kind of tell? You're like, the air feels thick and heavy. Or when you, I don't know, someone doesn't have to say a word and you just sense something as you come near them. I don't know, some of my friends who are like kind of more crunchy granola than I am, I'll be like, oh, there's kind of an aura about them, or, you know, this, you know, trippy energy thing going on. I don't know, but you can just feel it. There is something more to us than meets the eye. And so I want to invite you to explore kind of a deeper knowing. I want to tell you a little bit about Julian of Norwich. St. Julian of Norwich lived in 14th century England. And she had this saying that I love. It's kind of a prayer. It's kind of a mantra. It's kind of an affirmation, however you want to think of it. She said, all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Anyway, when St. Julian of Norwich lived, it wasn't an easy time. The Black Plague swept through her town 3 times. Over half of the people died. Like, it was serious stuff. Side note, much more serious than what we're going through right now. But anyway, just saying, you can kind of tell when there's a plague going on. So she could. And so there she was. She nearly lost her life when she was little and when she was older too. And she got these visions because she was still and she knew to explore and to pursue. And she felt like she got these visions from God. And what a beautiful one. All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. I don't care what happens, and I'm telling you this is not her line, this is me. I don't care what happens. They can do anything to the body. They can't touch our soul. Nobody can touch our soul except the Creator, right? So we have a purpose. We can come to our senses right now when it seems that the world is going mad. We can be who we are by pausing to be, grounding, unplugging, moving, and exploring beyond our senses. But I heard the best thing the other day, and this is maybe how St. Julian of Norwich was too. A friend of mine is literally a soccer mom, and she said, I tell my son, and he's only like 6, so she's really into this, when he gets on that field, he needs to plow past all the defenders. He needs to act like they're invisible and get to the goal. And I was like, hey, I kind of like that. I like that. Let's not spend our energy looking at the people opposing us, or looking at this distracting thing and that distracting thing. I'm telling you, we gotta have our eyes on the prize. We gotta be who we are, do some of this deep listening, this kind of momentary time to breathe and explore, so that we'll know exactly where we're headed, and then we won't let anything deter us, right? So when I was in Australia, this is my last story, my dear friend Suzanne Thompson took me on to her land in the small town of outside of Barcaldine. You guys, she had custodianship, it's a long story, of this land. She calls herself the ancestral whisperer, Suzanne. And I was so grateful that she had me onto her place, but she said, Hilda, I was going to be a hairdresser years ago. And now she's like, I'm doing what my ancestors have called me to do because I've stopped to listen. My tribe has a tradition called Didiri, a time of deep, deep listening. And when you stop, and when you're quiet, and when you explore in the way in which I'm describing, just being and just listening, you never know what you're going to hear. And you might hear from your ancestors, as Suzanne did. You might hear just something in your intuition telling you, I've got to go here or there. Or you might hear the Great Spirit, and all traditional cultures had someone whom they adored and they thanked. And I know I do that as well. And he's taking me to surprising places. He's brought me to this place that I never thought I would be in. He's taking me to Ecuador in June. I'm like, what? What's happening? I didn't have a plan to go to Ecuador, but there I go. And so I'm excited. It's an adventure. There will be challenges. There will be things. But I think if we come to our senses, if we ground, unplug, move, and explore, we'll be who we were meant to be, and we will thrive. So thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Comment below and tell me your favorite bits of what I shared, and if there's anything that you do that really helps keep you thriving and not just surviving in these times. Also, give this video a thumbs up so other people can know it's worth watching, and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Thanks so much. Love you guys. Hasta pronto.